Okay, hey friends, thanks for staying on this trail with me. We're talking about our leadership capacity, and we've done 2 assessments already. Now we're going to get to work. We're going to focus on Cultivate today, and then in the next installment, we'll look at how to accelerate into new territory. But in the meantime, let's get to work building your base, making sure that you have that both and strategy to be established where you are in the midst of disruption, so that way as you launch out, there won't be consequences when you come back home. So it's really important that we take this conversation to heart on the leadership level, and that we can prove to ourselves and the people that we want to join the team that this is the place where they need to be. This is the place where they can thrive on a team. And so we're going to be looking at the Cultivate checklist. Yay! Right? And the Cultivate checklist is really speaking to the initial training that we went through. If you haven't, for whatever reason, seen that training, go back to the podcast. Prepare to go there. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to audio podcasts. And you're specifically looking for the podcast called Your Expansion Era. And in that, we actually give these 2 action steps. You got to cultivate where you are, and then you have to accelerate your future focus. And so cultivating is all about growing your base, where you work, your operations. It's what you're currently doing, and reimagining that with others in mind. And so many times we can just get familiar and cozy working in our own way, in our own workspace, and we've got to be thinking in terms of teams. We've got to be willing to stretch our capacity of what's possible, outpace our own perceptions of how many people we can involve in the operation that we do. So to do that, I want to give you step-by-step roadmap to actually cultivate your own workspace into a growing, thriving workplace. And you're like, Peter, I'm not really trying to build a business. I'm not really trying to take on a lot of team members. I'm really okay with just being a one-person operation. That's totally fine, but you're still going to have to be thinking relationally, okay? You're still going to have to be thinking about the people that you interact with. It might be friends, it might be outsourcing, it might be part-time, full-time. I mean, you can get really creative, but I promise you, you're not going to enlarge your capacity if you don't have resourced relationships. You're not giving to other people in a way that you can begin to work together in synergistic ways. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So here we go. Describe your work approach. This is really important that you basically understand, hey, I have the intention of growing something up, growing this space out to support many other team members. It's not just about what they're going to give me or what they're going to give this team. It's about, can they thrive in this environment? What are they going to get out of it? How are they going to function? And I'm not just saying their compensation, although that's a big part. It's actually in designate. But how are you actually going to cultivate a work environment that a lot of people say, man, I'm thriving here. And whenever a pioneering leader shows up, that's what they do. They can turn a department around. They can turn a company around. They can turn a community around. They know what it means to go somewhere that's been neglected or overlooked for a time, and they know how to bring fresh ideas and rally people together and, really just bring it into the future, help it find the next phase faster. And so it really does start with you being willing to describe your own working approach. And the reason you have to do this is because you kind of have to detach yourself from the work. And you can't just get so committed to this on an identity level. Hey, just because you're wearing this hat today, that you're doing all of the bookkeeping, doesn't mean you'll be doing that all the time or in the future. So define what you do so clearly that way you could actually describe it to someone else. And understanding this, describe your work approach. Describe your values. What do you value for work? Man, I value flexibility. I value preparation. I value organization. I value a relational interaction. I don't want this to be some, cold, distant, transactional thing only. I want this to be meaningful, enjoyable in the process. I don't want to just get to the byproduct at the end. I want the whole journey, the whole, coaching experience to be enjoyable and meaningful, right? Maybe that's part of your process, part of your thinking. Begin to describe the way you take on work. Well, I like to start slow and then I catch fire and I rise higher, or you're like, no, I like to wake up and hit the ground running. You need to go through a literal journaling exercise. You need to literally get a journal on paper or on some sort of note-taking app, and you need to start talking this out. You need to get a voice memo, start externally processing. You need to get a video camera and start dialoguing. And you need to document the way you're working. Why? Because you're actually creating language that's going to welcome people into that. Okay? And then you also need to be describing your schedule. Do you have a intentional design for your work week? All right, I do this next, I work on that next. Describe what you do. This is super important. It will be used in a number of ways. Number one, it'll be used as a diagnostic. It will help you see, wow, I'm doing too much. I just described all I'm doing. I'm definitely doing too much. It'll help you begin to distill what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. Wow, that is important. That's actually more important. And so I'm going to prioritize that. And then I'm going to figure out how, first things to go are going to be that and that. Okay, you've got to externalize the work you do, so it's not just attached to your ego. Then you have to organize and categorize, hey, this is my plan to grow this base, to have a team-based operation here. All right, next, we're going to define your weekly schedule. Define your weekly schedule. That's not to say that you have to do like very detailed time tracking. What I'm saying is that you're creating a map with clear boundaries, a map with clear time boundaries. You say, hey, I only have, this many hours a week to put in the work, and this is what I can give, and this is how I can, bring others into that work as well. Having a clear schedule will help you map out your own movements so that way you can better align other projects and people, and you can begin to anticipate progress. Okay, I really want to encourage you, take these first two steps. They're going to be more kind of, introspective, kind of geeky. You're kind of just thinking it out. It's pre-work, but it's really helpful to document it, see it, and then begin to define a clear, ongoing schedule where you say, hey, this is a real place. We get real work done. This is a real team. And so many times, particularly pioneering leaders, maybe you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, maybe you're a church planter, and you may feel like, hey, I don't even feel real yet. I'm still kind of like in just the dream phase, but I'm not in the team phase, and I don't really know how to, level up. I don't know how to get from my dream to this team. How do I do that? Well, I'm actually working on another email trail that's going to talk about those exact steps. But in the meantime, let's focus on cultivating where you already are. And I'm telling you, people cannot show up into your world, help you with work, if they don't really understand what you're doing, and they can't pinpoint you when it's time to communicate, when it's time to get an email, or it's time to get some sort of serial number, or vendor number that they need. I mean, how are they going to work with you. And so they come into your quote workspace, and it's this like very hairy, scary jungle environment because you haven't been cultivating it. I'm using a word picture here, so I hope you track with me. If you're going in and this is like a jungle environment and you're like, hey, I can survive out here, you want to join me? And it's like, no, I really don't, because I don't think this would be fun or enjoyable. I don't think I could thrive here. I don't think I want to bring my friends or family into this. Why would I want to jump into this initiative, this business, this movement, this thing, if you haven't cultivated it yet for other people to thrive with you in it? All right, boom, monologue mode off. Let's get back to the Cultivate checklist. After we describe our work approach, we're very clear on what we're doing. We have defined a working schedule that will be consistent. It will be sustainable. Then we're going to design the workspace that we're in. I'm talking about your physical workspace, your laptop, your desk, your office, your home, your cubicle, whatever you're rocking, that's great. You can get amazing work done there, but we have to begin to reimagine it. How could you involve other people? And could other people actually help you do work there? Do you need to go online? Do you need to organize some sort of work hub? Do you need to get apps and tools that will actually let people communicate and collaborate better? Do you need to go find a working space, a co-working space, and actually meet up there? Do you need to go find, some rented space that you can go to? What is it going to take to actually show up and get great work accomplished? That's the question. And we're going to be designing that workspace with 2 steps in mind. Okay, we're designing that workspace with 2 steps in mind. And let me show you what this looks like, because here we are, we're ready to cultivate the place where we work, and we're going to expand it into a thriving workplace. And it's not clean. It's not like all even circles. It's going to have some just an organic nature. It's going to be kind of wonky. There are times it really grows and other times it kind of shrinks, but I like this picture because it really does show how we make progress. All right, first, you got to work on you. What are you going to do? What are you working on? What are your values? What is your approach? What is your process? All right, then you define the schedule. Then we're going to develop the workspace, making sure that it actually is conducive for a productive workflow. And we're going to think about it in 2 ways. Number 1 is organizing it. Is it organized? Okay. How can we do things easier? How can we do things easier? Can we label things easier? Can we process things easier? Can we decide things easier? Can we batch things in a way that makes it easier? We're thinking about the organizational piece. It's going to be more of an internal focus. It's more internal in nature. We're thinking about the internal operations of the team. How are we going to organize this thing to be easier for the people getting the work done? But then we're also going to be thinking about the other side of that equation, which is optimize. Yes, we want to organize the workspace to be easier for more people to get involved and get results, but we also want it to be optimized. So we're actually making things better. How can we make things better? So whenever we're actually in the space where we work, and it could be digital or it could be physical, you're thinking about these 2 things all the time. How can we better? How can we organize this space? How can we optimize this workflow? All right, next, it's time to develop a team tree. And the metaphor I'm working with, guys, is you've got this little plot of land, and it might just look like a junkyard at first, but you're there first to begin to transform that environment into a beautiful garden space where other people can actually show up. They can work with you there. They could even move in and say, no, I do this work full time. And you're actually creating this beautiful environment that supports other people on the team. And a lot of times we're just kind of in crisis mode. And so we're not even there yet, right? Which is okay. That's fine. There's nothing bad about that. I'm just saying a lot of us think, I just need someone to help me get out of this hole. And instead, let's kind of flip that and say, I don't want to invite someone else to come live in the hole as well. I want to actually get out of the hole. I want to create this really happy place, and I want other people to join me and function here well. And what that's going to do is when you have this thriving home base out of a business, out of a work, out of a team, whatever you want to call it, it's going to give you way more margin to go expand and accelerate. And a lot of people, they cannot accelerate because they haven't cultivated a great place. So if you got your boundaries there, you've got to work on what's inside the circle, what's inside those boundaries before you can push those boundaries, expanding beyond them. All right. So next, we've done the inside job. We're really clear on ourselves. We are accountable to a good working schedule that we can actually invite people into. Now we're not just going to invite them into the schedule. We're going to invite them into the workspace. They're actually showing up. They're going to be ready to help us. And we actually got those steps ready before we made the first invitation to bring someone else in on this. And so next, we're going to be developing a team tree strategy. And what this means is you cannot just start, throwing money out there and saying, I'm just going to hire, 20 people for each task. But instead, what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, I'm going to be strategic about the way I build a team. And I'm going to be really strategic by realizing that it's the same way, a garden is, or, trees are. It's organic, meaning it takes time. It takes effort. It takes risk. It takes you getting engaged in that process. So we're going to look at the seeds. That's the first level. Then we're going to look at the root system. Then we're going to build a core team. And then we're going to be intentional about getting that team to keep branching out. That's a tree. And then eventually, new seeds go out, and then you can start up a whole new tree team, or team, tree, team, whatever. So this is just kind of the way my brain works. And what this does is this approach, this strategy is all about giving you permission as a leader to grow into the team over time. I'm not putting all this pressure to say you got to get it done or you're going to fail. You can actually function and figure out how to make it work for a season, for a reason. But eventually, you do want to outlast the learning curve, and you do want to start scaling, and you're going to do that with a team. And so over time, you're working through these steps. And the first step is the seed sowing step, which is all about taking initiative. All right. You're going to have to take initiative. And that initiative is sowing the seed to say, hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it if no one else is here, but I'm going to experiment. I'm going to launch. I'm going to go for it. You're not just going for it haphazardly. You're doing it intentionally, saying, hey, I won't be doing this alone forever, but someone has to start it if we're going to grow into anything at all. Then we're working on the root system. The root system is your underground preparation. Underground preparation. This is before you see anything come above the surface. There's no such thing as a team yet, but you're putting in the work. Something like this, all these steps so far, would be a part of your root system. Making sure that when people actually show up, they can be resourced, they can be supported, they can be encouraged, they can be trained, they can be developed. And a lot of people, they're just looking for what can get done instead of actually developing something that's going to grow. I know, I just feel y'all saying this, you're like, well, I just want something more passive. Guys, that's not pioneering leadership, okay? There are parts of passive that you can work on, but we're talking about pioneering a leadership journey that grows into a leadership community. All right, next, we're going to look at the core team. The core team is really the people that they get you, they want to help the mission. They're not just there to, be your buddy. They actually want to see your mission as their own mission. They're like, I value what you're talking about. I want to get in on this. And so the basic ways you're going to do that is you're going to share meetings and you're going to share projects. That's it. Okay, you're going to share meetings, you're going to share projects. You're going to let them come in. I'm talking about grassroots team building from the grassroots up. All right, you got to, and you're filtering and you're deciding. You got to make good choices because every choice is strategic and it will have consequences. And so you want to make sure that when you onboard somebody, that it's going to be a win-win. It's not just going to be one-sided. It's going to be a win-win. And then finally, the team's going to begin to branch out. This is where we all feel the benefit of all that work, right? And we let people branch out and form new work groups and new teams of their own. All right, we are moving through the Cultivate checklist, looking at the next one, which is Delegate. And this is a challenge. This is really, there's nothing scientific about it necessarily. The main point is just to get past that initial knee-jerk reaction, that gag reflex that says, I don't let go. I will not release control. I will not trust other people. And I just say, just go for it. Go for it. You don't have to overthink it. And there's so many great pioneering leaders, and you really enjoy thinking deeply about, the future of your industry, the future of where things are going, and you just overthink it. And you've got so many charts and graphs, and you're not willing to just take that chance, make that choice, and involve somebody, and just go for it. So delegate something, delegate anything for 4 months. Just try it. 4 months is nothing. 4 months, it could be, helping you organize your emails, or it could be working on a short-term project, or it could be scaffolding something, that whatever. I mean, just delegate something for 4 months. It'll be a great experience for you. It'll be a great opportunity to invest in someone else, and you'll get great experience. And hopefully, if the working experience was positive, then they might want to continue with you, and that would be really cool. All right, then we're going to decide in that 4-month period. We're deciding on a hiring process and package. You're like, Peter, what are you talking about? I'm talking about leaders that have not gotten this kind of momentum. They don't have the capacity to do this yet. You got this, and you don't have to wait a really long time, and you don't have to wait on all these external factors that we think are necessary. I just want you to take initiative, and I want you to make massive action steps to prove to yourself that you are a pioneering leader. And in that 4-month period, you're like in a live audition. You're auditioning with them, they're auditioning with you, and you're saying, hey, can we work together well? Can this be a team space? Or is this just going to be, my hobby, your hobby? And that's where you're putting in the groundwork to really show up and say, I think we can continue this. This is how we're going to make this space great for everybody. And that really is where we're going to land for now. And if you just rinse and repeat this thing over and over again, you want to be very clear at that next level. Okay, what do I do? How am I going to make this work in a weekly schedule? How are we going to make this work in 3D in our workspace and in our workflow? And then we're being intentional about growing a team over time. We're not going to overthink the onboarding. We're going to bring them in relationally, organically, and then say, hey, this is our intention, and we're going to serve all the way through, and then we'll be honest at the end of this experiment. And then from there, hopefully we have designated a great opportunity that they can be a part of. And you just do it over and over again. And over time, you're actually cultivating this kind of one-man band or this one-person operation into something that is thriving with other people in mind. So thanks so much. And we will have another checkpoint. Let's take a sneak peek, see what the next checkpoint is. Cultivate where you are into a space where others can thrive with you. I couldn't say it better than myself. Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about accelerating with a future focus. That's the other side of your expansion era, and that's why we need to talk about it. See you then.